Andrew Hedrick, who actually just won a regional championships last weekend, right, with the Dragapult EX pre-rotation, and is now back at it again, trying to pilot this deck in the newest format versus Henry Chao, the Gardevoir specialist. So much on the line between these two players.
I know. I mean, Henry is one win away from joining a very exclusive club of three-time regional champion in a single season. Only three players, prior to him have done that before. Jimmy Pendarvis actually won 4 regionals in a single season, the only one to ever do it. And then we have Caleb Gedimer, who has won a regional this season, also won 3 regionals a few years ago. And then Igor Costa also won 3 in that same season, and he's also a former world champion. So what an elite club he could join. But then Andrew Hedrick, he's already won back-to-back regional championships in a single season. He's also won all of these regionals so far in the modern era, in the most competitive era of the Pokémon TCG we've ever had. And he's an international champion, so no matter which player wins this battle, they're putting their names in the history books.
And no matter who wins, it's also going to be quite a show. I'm expecting a dynamic best of 3, Gardevoir versus Dragapult. From what we've seen this weekend, the jury is still out on which deck is truly favored. We'll take a close look at the prize cards now to see what the matchup might shake out to be. 1 Dragapult EX and a Dracloak in the prizes for Andrew Hedrick. His luxurious cape technology also sealed away. Meanwhile, on Henry Chao's side, the Mute EX in that prize cards with a Darkness Energy. Again, folks, he's only on 2 copies, so he's only got 1 more for the Monkey Dory.
However, that rescue board is probably the most crucial card of all. We've seen how Karis tried to limit Henry's ability to apply any pressure by keeping that Zoroark EX in the active, right? And how difficult it is to pay the 2 retreat costs when you cannot Psychic Embrace onto Zorua. As we have this game starting out, we'll have to see if any of those prizes affect the game directly, and we've seen Henry be very diligent with his prize checking. I expect that to continue in the most important game of the whole tournament.
So the starters for both players, Henry Chao with Screamtail, Andrew Hedrick on Hawlucha. Not ideal for both players, but for Andrew Hedrick, missing out on Hawlucha's flying entry ability for a combo turn later on in the game is much more of a detriment. Henry Chao, meanwhile, opening things up with Buddy Poffin, finds Zorua, and is going to continue to check through the rest of the deck. His normal play from this spot has been Zorua and a Ralts, and I think he'll stick to that strategy.
Oh, certainly. Those are the 2 key Pokemon to get right now. However, I have to wonder if once you realize the rescue board is prized, if maybe you hesitate at least a little bit. I mean, clearly he didn't. He just slammed the Zorua immediately off of that Buddy Puffin. He's checked his Pokemon. He's now checking the energy. Rescue board, just like the Night Stretchers, perhaps not the first card you check. Maybe he might not even realize that the card is not available, but we'll have to see now. The Mew EX being priced is definitely an integral part of his strategy. We saw how he played out that game against Karis, where he had the Lili's Clefairy EX giving weakness to Dragapult EX and used Monkey Dory to take a 3-price turn against a Dragapult EX and a Dracloak with the Adrenabrain. So that play is no longer available to him until he unlocks the Mew EX, but thankfully it's at the very bottom of the prize cards.
And hopefully Henry Chao can remain locked in. We know that he's going to be incredibly excited, right? He's the player in the pilot seat. We've talked so much about the stakes, all the prestige, the potential to win 3 regionals in 1 season. He's not going to let that excitement get to him. It seems like he's staying locked in, Pablo. And off of the Buddy Poffin plus Nest Ball, Zorua, Badoo, and now a Monkey Dory. No Ralts yet picked up. Yeah. Also attaches the Darkness Energy to the Monkey Dory. Henry Chao is anticipating an Itchy Pollen war right from the drop.
That's been the theme of Atlanta Regionals. It's all about the Baduus and the Itchy Pollens going back and forth. But of course, when you have Monkey Dory, you do have a big advantage in that exchange. So turns out maybe you don't need Gardevoir EX immediately whatsoever. And I mean, both of these players, they know the matchup like the back of their hands, right? They've both played this matchup over and over throughout the whole weekend. Henry probably played a lot more against Dragapult than Hedrick has played against Gardevoir himself, but both players extremely experienced. They'll know exactly what to do in these spots.
when it comes to Badoo slowing down the game, the early setup for both players, in order for you to build up your board state, there's also the other side of the coin where if your opponent gets off to an awkward start, a clunky start, Itchy Pollen is going to keep them from digging themselves out of that hole, and that's what Henry Chao is relying on. Meanwhile, Andrew Hedrick does still have access to items because Henry Chao didn't have a way to retreat Screamtail from the active spot and finds a nest ball and searches through the deck.
Yep, now that this is the first turn.
Oh, Henry, so Henry did go first. My mistake.
Yeah, all good. So, yeah, I mean, he did have that energy, prioritized the Monkey Dory, of course, which is very, very key. Couldn't tell what else is in his hand, but you have to assume there's at least a little bit of help to get him into that Itchy Pollen. And usually hiding behind Itchy Pollen, both of these decks take a little bit to get going, right? Dragapult needs to find those Dracloaks, needs to get into the Dragapult TX and get those energy attachments, especially because I don't believe Hedrick plays any way to accelerate energy. There's no Crispin, and there's not even any sort of energy transference with EXP shares. So it's going to be one energy at a time, slow but steady, wins the race, and it's taking him to the grand final so far.
I think I did also spot the Zoroark EX in Henry's hand. So we'll have to see if he's going to go for early trades or if the absence of the rescue board does indeed make him hesitate. But over on Andrew Hedrick's side, does pick up Dreepy after that deck search. Finally has the first baby on the bench. This will continue to evolve and grow to Dragapult EX alongside a couple, hopefully, energy attachments.
I wonder if there's maybe an Iono to follow this up. I feel like if there had been an Arven into a Buddy Puffin and a rescue board, probably would have already seen that happen at this point in time. But I want to go back to something that you touched upon when we were looking at the prize cards, the luxurious cape technology. That is not available. We've seen both players really try to, or like in general in this matchup, you'd want to buff your Badu and make it so that it just doesn't go down after 3 turns of Itchy Pollen. And we've seen a lot of turns of Itchy Pollen this tournament, and it's all thanks to those Bravery Charms and the Luxurious Cape, just buffing that Badu, and giving it extra HP to buy you even more time.
And I think this just goes to show how reliant Andrew really is on keeping the game locked down and at a much slower pace. With no energy acceleration with Crispin, no energy sharing with EXP share, everything needs to be established ahead of time. We'll see if Henry Chao tries to turn up the gas and break through the item lock and through all of this slow early game to put the pressure on Andrew Hedrick.
Amazing 2 cards found off of that trade. Professor's Research and Secret Box. You're one of a spec, just running into that card very casually. Now the Zoroark EX has hit the board and the rescue board is prized. So I don't know if Henry has taken note of that just yet or not. He was very thorough with his prize checking, but figuring out all 6 prizes, I think, is a little bit difficult. So we'll see if he finds out right now. He is playing the secret box, and one of the tools he has access to is that rescue board. So we'll have to see. I think he's now noticing that frown that he just did. I'm pretty sure he had not realized that the rescue board was not available. And so a counter catcher or a boss onto the Zoroark could prove to be very effective for Andrew to buy himself enough time in this match.
Andrew Hedrick on 3 copies of Counter Catcher, 2 copies of Boss's Orders, a lot of gusting options to punish this Zoroark EX play if Henry tries to take an early prize card. It's very, very tempting, especially with just a Dreepy and an energy on the bench. But Henry Chao might be a little hesitant, wanting to set the board up a little bit better before making that aggressive play, which has been the meta of this matchup so far.
Look at all those face gestures by Henry. He's not happy about the cards that he's not seeing off of the prize cards, which is probably the Darkness Energy, definitely the rescue board, probably the Mew. He's just not happy having to figure out these 4 cards and the ones that he is missing. So maybe kicking himself a little bit by not noticing that rescue board was not available. I mean, I don't think he would have not played the secret box this particular turn, but that Zoroark EX is definitely a slight liability for him, to the point where we might see him at some point preemptively attach an energy to Zoroark EX so that with 1 more energy, he is able to retreat.
I would absolutely love to see that. Pablo just goes ahead, uses Buddy Poffin to get 2 Ralts onto the bench. This is a beautiful setup after all, and Andrew Hedrick is still a step behind with just 1 Dreepy in play. Access potentially to only 1 Dracloak, and has it here. Evolves on the bench to use its Recon Directive ability. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. One goes to the bottom of the deck, and the other goes directly to the hand. I believe it was just 2 Buddy Poffins offered, so this will result in double Dreepy.
Henry is definitely not happy about his decision making so far. He discarded the energy, then he didn't have a way to retreat into the body, and now he has this problem where he didn't item lock Andrew, and now that Buddy Poffin is alive. There's a Dusclops, there's a Dracloak. This is such a huge opening for Andrew.
Henry Chao was in a position to shut down this game, lock down Andrew Hedrick from the get-go, and just couldn't get Screamtail out of the active spot in time. There was a play off the secret box. Maybe you try for Earthen Vessel, get some energy, but Henry Chao values his own setup, grabs Buddy Poffin, goes for Ralts. Hopefully this won't come back to bite him after the Buddy Poffin, and Andrew Hedrick, proving me wrong, goes for double Duskull instead of the Dreepy.
Yep, trying to be extra aggressive, and we saw Henry go past carries in a non-Dusknoir Dragapult variant, right? But now Hedrick has that extra potential to be hyper-aggressive, has the extra potential to make the Ionos even more effective by gifting Henry prizes. And I think it's very interesting to see like the stoic of both players. Like Henry's very emotional, he's lamenting himself for some of the decisions that he has made so far, and Hedrick is basically completely emotionless at this point, just very focused, very locked in, whereas Henry's all emotions all over the place. Look at him just frown at his decisions.
Yeah, wearing his heart on his sleeve, maybe getting a little bit of tilted right out of the gate. It's still game 1, still pretty early. Does pick up 2 Curlia thanks to Jacques. You can search your deck for 2 evolution Pokemon. So the game plan is still coming together, even while your deck seems to be coming through, so to speak. If you're missing out on one opportunity to continue to lock down your opponent, Andrew Hedrick could take this game immediately. Finally finds an energy to retreat Screamtail, brings Badoo to the active spot with a Bravery Charm, and swings on the Hawlucha with Itchy Pollen. No items for Andrew Hedrick, but he at least has a Dracloak to lean on.
He already has the boss's orders in hand to potentially bring up the Zorg and give himself back items, lock Henry out of retreating into that Itchy Pollen. Found an energy as well, but he's missing the body. He has no way to find the body right now, and if he keeps the Arven to play Buddy Poffin, he can't boss. If he keeps the Ultra Ball to find that body this turn, that's a costly price to pay at this point.
A lot of players need to save those Ultra Balls for Dragapult to get their attacking threat online. There's a Psychic Energy in the hand to potentially attach to the Dracloak that already has a Fire Energy. We know that Andrew Hedrick wants to play this matchup as slowly as possible. We could see Psychic go on to the second Dracloak, but meanwhile, Dusclops is going to evolve. This is the threat of 5 damage counters going over to Henry Chao's side to clean up a multi-prize turn down the road.
And Hedrick is also item locked. I completely forgot about that. So he cannot Buddy Poffin for a buddy. There's just no access to that just yet. It is in the deck. It's actually very close to the bottom, but no possibility right now to utilize that. So just going to thin the deck a little bit more with that Arven, get closer to other resources. But now there's a big play available for Hedrick. Depending on what's in Henry's hand, you can always use the Curse Blast, put 5 damage counters on one Curlia, use Boss on the other one, and then you knock both of them out. It's something we saw carries do very effectively in that top 4 match, and this is something that Andrew might be playing towards.
So Henry Chao is on a bit of a clock. The threat potential of a Dragapult EX plus 1 more energy attachment, the boss's orders, it seems like it can all be found very easily. Meanwhile, Henry Chao needs to find Gardevoir EX immediately. The more time goes on, the more recon directives happens, the higher the chance that that massively devastating play will come to pass.
Now we're going to see the next trade for Henry Chao. He will have access now to Gardevoir EX, so he could be the aggressor. We could start seeing some Screamtail action at this point in time. First, we're going to see a Morty's Conviction, though. 4 extra cards for Henry. No actual energy of any sort to help him at this point in time, however.
Yeah, just a handful in the discard pile and a Gardevoir EX in play, which is nice, but you can't attack with the Pokemon if you're choosing. I wonder if Henry is going to try to extend a little bit, maybe apply some pressure with Screamtail. It's very devastating because he knows that Andrew Hedrick just grabbed the unfair stamp, and the pressure of that card means that Henry can't quite begin his aggressive strategy until the rest of the board is properly established, until he has the proper amount of resources already available in play before his hand gets shuffled into the deck.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to go for a more passive route. He's going to go ahead and Psychic Embrace onto his Gardevoir EX, heal 30 damage off of it with Adrenaline Brain, send it over to Duskull and threaten Andrew with, if you don't evolve, that's going to be my first prize card, and you have 1 less Curse Blast for use later down the line. But what a top deck. Dusclops off the top for Hedrick.
Another Cursed Blast available, and if Henry Chao keeps respecting his opponent, keeps playing this slow game, I feel like, Pablo, he's playing right into Andrew's hands. He wants this game to remain under control and very passive as he evolves up and attaches for turn. And now with access to 2 Dusclops, the amount of damage manipulation available for Henry could allow him to pull his signature technique of multi-prize Dragapult turns.
Yep, now Hedrick having a tough choice with this Recon Directive option, because he found a Dragapult and he found a Psychic Energy, both of which there's 1 copy of each in the prize cards. So it was a tough decision. Do you keep the energy, get more energy in play, or do you grab the Dragapult DX and evolve in order to protect your energy? So spreading out the energy could have been a little bit costly for Andrew. He will evolve that Dusclops to protect the Duskull, make sure that's not getting KO'd. But seems like we're just going to see another pass. Both players being very passive, and as we've talked about, Adam, whoever ends up being the aggressor sometimes has a disadvantage. Now that Hedrick has locked himself on the bench, though, we're not going to be seeing any Itchy Pollen from him anytime soon until he decides to use Curse Blast or until Henry takes the first prize card.
Andrew is very comfortable in this spot, I think, with 2 Dracloaks to continue thinning through the deck. Dusclops potentially having a play where you just detonate both Curse Blasts to take down 1 key benched Pokemon. But it's just over to Henry Chao. The liability, the lack of rescue board with the Zoroark EX is another nail in the coffin where Henry Chao does not want to go aggressive and try to push some sort of advantage from this spot. Just another Morty's Conviction to draw more cards, discard 1 from the hand, draw for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, a fantastic 5-card draw. And it seems to be an Earthen Vessel, yes, for 2 more Psychic Energies.
Is that really all the cards left in Henry's deck? It's only like turn 4 and there's like 10 cards left. That's crazy. And not a single prize card has been taken yet.
Ultra Ball discards 1 Psychic Energy and the second Zoroark EX. He doesn't need it. Picks up the second Gardevoir EX, however, to evolve that Kirlia. No longer a liability on the bench. Has that backup Miracle Force. I wonder now if Henry Chao feels confident to start taking some prize cards.
Preemptively attaching to the Zoroark EX. I absolutely love that. Knows the rescue board is prized. Knows that, well, I'm guessing he's going to try and take a prize card perhaps this turn. However, he's going to make sure that he can't get trapped just in case the rescue board is not found. Now he will go ahead and Adrenaline Brain 3 more damage counters onto Dusclops, essentially telling Andrew, either you give me a prize or I will take it myself.
And if Andrew Hedrick is in a position where he can't properly capitalize on that Cursed Blast, then some of those damage counters are just going to come flying right back with Adrenaline Brain. This is a great asking play from Henry Chao. No player wants to be the first one to take a prize card, as you've pointed out multiple times, Pablo, and Henry's trying his very best to force Andrew's hand.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Henry is okay taking the first prize card as long as he does it whilst keeping his opponent under item lock, and that is exactly what he's trying to go for. That way there's no counter catcher, counter play coming against him. Protects the Monkey Dory, protects also the Zoroark EX, protects his Gardevoir EX. Now, Henry does need to be careful with his energy management to not be in a situation similar to the one we saw in that last round yesterday against John Eng, where he had his energy a little too spread and he just didn't have enough to retaliate with Mew EX or with Lilith's Clefairy EX at any given point.
Fortunately, all the Psychic Energy are in the deck and available, but digging those out without, refinement, just a trade, and potentially under item lock, so no Earthen Vessel, would be very detrimental. He's running 2 copies. We saw him play one earlier. I believe there was a second one. It's hard to recall at this point. But Andrew Hedrick still sticking to his guns, being very methodical, going through the deck with Recon Directive and trying to put the pieces together. We have 2 energies attached finally to this first Dracloak, the Psychic and Fire, so the ability to evolve into Dragapult EX and begin swinging is available to Henry. I think, based on what we've seen so far, however, Pablo, that he is also going to try to wait and see what his opponent will do.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 20 minutes of this finals match already, Adam, and we have seen 0 prizes taken so far in this first game. Henry actually decides to power up Screamtail, transfers the damage with Adrenabrain onto the Dusclops, but now the energies are on the Screamtail. Like, healing Screamtail is usually not a great idea, but I mean, putting 5 energies on your Gardevoir EX is also probably not a great idea. So we're going to see that Professor Turo to get the energies back into the discard pile, opening up a bench space as well to potentially do the crucial combo of Lilith Clefairy EX combined with Mew EX and Munkidori to get that 3-prize turn that we saw him do in the top 4 match.
And Professor Turo being used on Screamtail is so important here because Henry Chao is confident after preemptively attaching an energy to the Zoroark, doesn't need this to get it out of the active spot like we've seen in previous games. 2 Gardevoir EX now and an Bravery Charm being attached to Munkidori. As more time goes on, both players' boards get more threatening with more explosive potential. Another Itchy Pollen. Andrew Hedrick has Dragapult EX in the active, in the hand, but just again a couple Recon Directives to look through and consider his options.
How many times have we said Itchy Pollen over the weekend, Adam? It's gotta be up there. Like, we gotta be closing in on 100 combined between
Itchy
the other 2
Pollens
casters and
Recon Directives.
Yep.
I wonder which one has happened more.
Right.
Just slowly digging through, is offered up another counter catcher in Pheasantipity.
Yep.
Is still under item lock, so doesn't want to keep the counter catcher. Pheasantipity can still draw some cards thanks to the Dusclops being knocked out with Adrenabrain.
Yep. Now the Bravery Charm on the Munkidori does protect the Munkidori from a Curse Blast from the Dusknoir, but Andrew just not going to go on the offensive, just content with using those Dracloaks, furthering his hand, letting Henry be the one to take the initiative. Just happy to sit under the item lock.
Andrew wants his opponent to take a knockout with some other Pokemon so that he can retaliate with Unfair Stamp, Iono, and try to keep Henry from doing a devastating counterplay. However, Henry seems to be finding his mojo, just attaching energies with Psychic Embrace, getting some damage down, and sending it over with Munkidori, or is happy to sit back on Itchy Pollen. I wonder if Henry can play this matchup both ways. Do you want to continuously hold your opponent back and lean into the Lily's Clefairy play, or are you at some point forced to begin taking prize cards and letting Andrew come to you?
Yeah, I'm sure he's happy to react, and he's also happy to be the aggressor. Like, there does come a point where you're so far ahead that it doesn't matter if you're the aggressor because you basically have game on board, right? And Henry's setup is looking pretty ideal at this point. I'm starting to worry a little bit about his deck size because if, like, 10 damage at a time, you're not going to be taking all 6 prizes, right? So, yeah, there's 3 cards left for Henry in his deck. I mean, I'm sure he has an Iono still left, has a couple, actually, I believe I saw in the hand. But with the energy stuck on the Gardevoir, like, at some point, either the Itchy Pollen item log has to end, or Henry has to replenish his deck. I think we just saw another Itchy Pollen. No, we're seeing the Adrenabrain.
Okay, so Adrenabrain into Itchy Pollen. He's going to push his luck again. Andrew Hedrick evolved into Dracloak and evolved into Dusknoir, and that's still not enough enticement to get Henry to stop the item lock. Andrew Hedrick is building up his board piece by piece, brick by brick, and Henry is still not feeling the threat.
He draw passes. He doesn't even recon directive anymore. I mean, clearly both players have a plan. I don't know what it is. They know, I'm sure. I am a little bit close at this point. I mean, Hedrick might be trying to take out. That Hawlucha will finally be taken down next turn, as long as Henry decides to use Ichipollen, which why wouldn't he? It's all he's done so far. 3 cards left.
You take the knockout with Ichipollen. That way your opponent is still under item lock. You don't have to worry about unfair stamp or counter catcher. This forces Andrew Hedrick to retreat the Hawlucha, maybe to bring something into the active, and maybe it's finally come to pass, Pablo, where Henry Chao has forced Andrew Hedrick's hand. Knockout with Ichipollen.
This was scary. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 energy in play, 1 energy in the discard pile, that's 7. There's 1 energy locked away in the prize cards, along with the rescue board, that's 8. So Henry's once again in a situation where he has 1 energy left to play in the discard pile and 1 energy in his hand to make sure that he doesn't get locked out of this game somehow. And maybe that's Andrew's plan. Maybe he's trying to, like, he must know that the rescue board is prized, right? At this point, he knows Henry plays it, and he must know that it's just not available to him. So perhaps he's trying to go for like a double counter catcher or double boss's orders play with his own body to lock this Zoroark active and deck Henry out. That might be the win condition that he's playing towards.
Since Henry has been thinning through the deck so aggressively to put together this board state.
Just a pass, no aggression, no attempt at freeing himself from the item lock, just building cards in his hand. So Henry just goes drop, Ichipollen, and that's it.
Eventually, Henry will be forced to just play Iono to replenish the deck. 2 cards left, and Andrew Hedrick has to be aggressive. I think that, oddly enough, has he waited too long? Has Henry Chao somehow walked through this dark tunnel and come out the other side, where suddenly this incredibly patient play over time has proven to be the correct line all along? They're approaching this matchup in a way that is difficult to fathom.
Yeah, I mean, generally neither player wants to win through the conventional method of I'll knock you out and you'll knock me out. I have to wonder if Henry's just too far ahead at this point. Henry's going to draw his last card. It's another Iono. So Henry has 3 Ionos available to him in order to replenish his deck and keep up this aggression. But that's definitely not enough Ichipollen turns to win this game. So at some point, Henry will have to break up this lock and somehow try to win this game. He also has 2 road to potentially unlock some energies from this card of war to then have them in the discard pile, reattach them, damage himself, and send that damage over. Perhaps that's what he's playing towards. Both Bravery Charms have been exhausted, so there's no possibility to increase the HP of the Mew EX or the Lilith Clefairy EX, which is something we saw him do last time around. So, I mean, Henry's definitely winning this game slow and steady, wins the race style, and I think Hedrick is just trying to make sure that he decks Henry eventually. As we see
Andrew
our, 10th Ichipollen.
He's very scared of evolving into Dragapult EX. There's some insane play of gusting up the Dragapult EX, using genome hacking to copy the Phantom Dive, and really devastate Andrew's board before he has a chance to properly make use of that attack. There is still, of course, you get the first Phantom Dive, and you get Curse Blast off of Dusknoir at the same time, but you're only maybe knocking out the Monkey Dory with that play, or trying to go all in on knocking out one Gardevoir. With this patient play, it seems Henry Chao has managed to get in a full setup that is insurmountable based on what Andrew's deck is built to do.
Andrew keeps checking his prize notes when doing the recon directives. I have to wonder, he's just making sure he remembers that the Dragapult is prized, the Luxurious Cape is prized, 1 energy is prized, Blood Moon as a extra damage power-up is also not available to him, so he's just continuing to build cards into his hand as he has been doing the last few turns, as we see the Ichipollen over and over. Half an hour gone, 2 prizes taken, 1 million Ichipollens.
The potential, the
Itchy
explosive
pollen.
potential of this match cannot be overstated, and both players playing the most ridiculous game of chicken we've seen yet this weekend. Andrew Hedrick not even keeping his opponent under an item lock, just slowly evolving, slowly attaching. Is there any more he can do to improve this board state, or is it just another wait and see? He's also drawing very much through his entire deck, so I cannot imagine what he's possibly waiting for.
He just saw, oh, okay, he has the other body in his hand. He just had a decision between Night Stretcher and Body. I have to assume he wants to try to trap this orc. I am completely
He must be cooking
at
up
a loss.
some six prize turn. And I just have not seen it, folks. I am so sorry. Night Stretcher brings Halucha back at some point when the item lock stops. Maybe Henry is also detecting the potential for a big turn.
All right, so we are finally seeing a little bit different. We see Psychic Embrace, 2 damage counters onto the Gardevoir, sending them over with Adrenabrain to the Dracloak to get yet another prize with Itchy Pollen. Keep Andrew under item lock. No counter catchers available. But I'm pretty sure Andrew, continually checking his opponent's discard pile, is very aware of the energies. Now, the rescue board was finally grabbed by Henry, which is great news, right? That will allow him to free himself from a potential boss plus body item lock at least once, as Andrew grabs that boss's orders off of the Recon Directive. However, if Henry's under item lock next turn and the Darkness Energy is locked behind the prize cards, I don't think he can retreat Zoroark EX twice. He can Professor Turo it up, right? He does have one of those available, so that's probably his plan. And there we go. There's the boss's orders. This was Hedrick's plan all along.
And fortunately, he grabbed the rescue board from the prize cards. Henry Chao, probably anticipating this play, had to play it super cautiously, wanting to up his odds of getting rescue board from the prizes. And after a trade, can simply Professor Turos, and we saw this during his match against Karis Jones, using the Professor Turos to remove the Zoroark liability from play altogether. The rest of the board is established to take over from here. We no longer need trade. Just a few more cards left in deck once again. And after evaluating this massive hand, is Henry Chao ready to bring game one home?
I guess Andrew didn't even item lock this turn. He didn't go for his own Itchy Pollen. So Henry has an energy left in hand, has an energy on the Zoroark right now, which he can retreat off. And he can also shuffle back those energies to make sure that the Zoroark EX can always retreat on top of the Professor Turo. So, I mean, do we see more Itchy Pollen? Or do we finally see some aggression and Hedrick being able to on for stamp and do whatever else he was planning on doing?
Retreats Zoroark EX, goes for Itchy Pollen. Henry Chao going to, again, reattach that energy. Doesn't want to use Professor Turo scenario until he's absolutely forced to. Is trying to exhaust Andrew Hedrick. Do you have another boss's orders to try to go for another Stalling Gust play? The longer this game goes on, eventually Henry's going to run out of Drac Cloaks.
Yeah, and I mean, with this is the second boss's orders being used, right? So you bring up the boss's orders. After you play that boss's orders, as long as Henry keeps using that Itchy Pollen, Counter Catcher cannot be utilized to bring that Zoroark EX again, so you are at the mercy of his deck. Now, I have to wonder if perhaps, I mean, I don't know, maybe Hedrick just knows that he cannot win this game, and his plan is to win game 2, hopefully, and then get ahead in the prizes in game 3 as time runs out. That is generally something he could be playing towards. Similar to what happened at NEIC last season, right? And, I mean, it's generally a way to deal with this. Or he could generally just be hoping that Henry will deck himself out. There's 2 cards left in the deck once again.
And 60 HP left on the active Dracloak, the ability to maybe just simply evolve this. The issue, once again, folks, is if Andrew Hedrick evolves into Dragapult EX, Henry Chao has Mute EX waiting in the wings with its genome hacking attack. Is there even enough energy still to discard to Psychic Embrace to it, Pablo? You'll have to eventually put something in the active and retreat to get those energies back into the discard pile to set up for the play.
Yeah, there's 7 total energy available, so you'd have to either do it yourself with a Professor Turo, or you would have to retreat the Gardevoir as Henry draws and immediately uses Itchy Pollen. Andrew with his whole deck in his hand, basically at this point, half of which he cannot play because of the Itchy Pollen. We're going to see more Recon Directives. And yeah, I mean, either he must have a plan, or he's just trying to make sure that Henry plays this perfectly and beats him, right? By drawing
exactly.
prizes.
If you interview 100 people and you show them this board state and say, so you just start swinging with Gardevoir here, right? You just bring it all home. What can your opponent possibly do to punish? It's certainly just an abundance of caution from both players. We thought that Andrew Hedrick was wanting the game to go slow and have as much time as possible to build up his board state, but it seems like that window of opportunity was closed off with double Gardevoir EX, Mew EX on the bench as well. The threat of Lily's Clefairy, as soon as a bench spot is open, he cannot dare to actually be aggressive, is playing towards classic player error and wants Henry Chao to deck himself out.
There's 3 cards left in Andrew's deck. There's 1 card left in Henry's deck. 2 Ionos left as well, and Suprod, so that could be meaningful. We're going to see Andrew retreat into his other Dracloak to protect his Dracloak. I'm a little bit clueless as to what is going on. We're going to see another Iono 3-card deck or 3 cards drawn for Henry, 6 for Hedrick. And I'm going to go on a wild guess and say we're going to see another Itchy Pollen here, Adam.
Yeah, I think that I would have to take that bet, certainly. The Itchy Pollen coming through.
There we go.
And it's just a matter of time. All of this damage stacking up. Henry Chao on 1 more Iono remaining. So with those cards shuffled back into the deck, only drawing 3 because of the prize cards taken, this is going to be another 200 damage worth of Itchy Pollen. That might be enough to take out 2 Dracloaks, certainly. And if Andrew Hedrick evolves again into Dragapult EX, maybe trying to put some more HP on one of these targets, Henry Chao might just simply have boss's orders, bring it up, copy with genome hacking.
Just Itchy Pollen after Itchy Pollen after Itchy Pollen after Itchy Pollen. I wonder why Hedrick has not used his own Itchy Pollen. I guess any Itchy Pollen damage is just helping Drenabrain be more effective, right? So.
And as the time ticks down, as the prize cards tick down, Andrew Hedrick sitting on this Dusknoir, also seeming to lack effectiveness or threat potential on a board state like this. 1 energy preemptively attached to the Zoroark. The stall play is kind of out of the running because Rescue Board was fortunately found off the prize cards. It's just a very methodical circling of players right now and strategies to bring game 1 to a close. 39 minutes still left on the clock for our Atlanta finals, and Henry Chao is stubbornly sticking to this strategy. He got the Badoo immediately at the start of the game, knew that this was going to be a slow one, and has committed fully and religiously to Itchy Pollen.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even tilting the Draclooks anymore because it's just, we're doing the exact same things over and over. Henry draws Itchy Pollen. Andrew does double Recon Directive, passes, accumulates cards in his hand. Henry eventually uses another Iono. I thought we couldn't win this game through Itchy Pollen alone, but apparently I was just completely wrong.
And Henry Chao, I would love to see him being able to use Psychic Embrace, use the Adrenabrain, pick up a knockout on one of the Dracloaks, send up a different attacking Pokemon and knock out the active Dracloak, but I don't think he has enough energy available, and he's still too afraid to retreat into a different attacker or bring up a different attacker, then manually retreat that one to get the Psychic Energies in the discard pile. Andrew Hedrick, meanwhile, putting some more HP in play to tank the Itchy Pollens with a fresh Dreepy.
I mean, so Henry's down to 3 prize cards. His play is definitely get another knockout with Itchy Pollen, and then he goes Professor Turo, free up the energies here, put them somewhere like, it doesn't really matter where, transfer the energy with Adrenabrain onto this, take the knockout, perhaps even benching another Monkey Dory if he frees up the Darkness energy in his prize cards, and then attack for a double prize knockout on that turn with Gardevoir EX. And I think Andrew, that's what he anticipates, and that's why he's making sure to keep the Dracloaks with 40 HP left each, which puts them out of range of Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain, and he's just retreating into more Pokemon to tank more hits, buy more turns to exhaust Henry Chao's deck.
So it is a long shot bet that the amount of HP he's able to safely put into play will exhaust the amount of Ionos and card draws that Henry Chao actually has with Itchy Pollen, forcing him to take an aggressive line and finally swing, opening up Andrew Hedrick to counter with Unfair Stamp and maybe Blood Moon Ursaluna.
And I mean, honestly, it doesn't sound like a bad plan the more I think about it, especially because Dusknoir has that humongous 130 HP. So I'm going to guess Dreepy will tank another 2 hits, have 40 HP left, and then we're going to see the retreat or the evolution into Dracloak just to tank more hits, buy more time, force Henry to use his last Iono. He had 3 when we were talking about decking out. Now he only has 1 left over, and that potential Super Rod to recover resources. So I can't think 20 turns in advance to figure out if Hedrick has enough time or not, but he might.
We are in completely unexplored territory here, Pablo, and this is the mark of top caliber Pokemon TCG play, in that both players have foreseen this incredibly ridiculous line.
All right, we're finally going to see something different happen. We're going to see the Itchy Pollen retaliation. Let's go, the Itchy Pollen. The crowd gets excited to see even more Itchy Pollen from both sides of the board. Now, this will be a little bit of extra damage. We're going to see the boss's orders try to lock down the Zoroark, and now this locks Henry out of Super Rod and out of Night Stretcher to get the energies back from the discard pile. This also means that if at some point he has to use the Professor Turos to bring this Zoroark up to his hand, he can no longer use it to bring one of these 2 Gardevoir EXs to unlock some energies to use on other attackers or for Adrenabrain.
So Andrew Hedrick has looked deeply into Henry Chao's potential line of play, with Zoroark EX brought up on the turn that Henry would draw his last card, puts him in a no-win scenario. Iono is definitely forced here, and now the Zoroark EX has to be retreated, but instead might meet. Will he try to force that item lock and have the Zoroark as a liability? Is this the time to do it?
I mean, he's going to be able to Adrenabrain off the damage onto the body. You take a knockout, goes down to 2 prize cards, so now the play's open. He can, especially unlocking the basic Darkness energy, he can double Monkey Dory potentially next turn to knock out any of these Pokemon, and then finally take the last prize card, which I'm sure we are all eager to see.
This was a strange game indeed, and just the first of a potential 3 Masters Finals with so much on the line for both of these players, for the prestige and for absolutely historical Pokemon feats of achievement at a tournament of this caliber.
I don't think anyone predicted 75 minutes and 1 million Itchy Pollens in this match. I predicted a few in the beginning, but eventually Gardevoir going toe-to-toe against Dragapult, but it's been a duel of body against body and body against Dracloak.
Nobody has ever taken this many knockouts before. I think we can say that.
That is a hero body for Henry.
Just carrying the team from turn 1, just 1 bravery charm.
Oh my goodness.
Itchy Pollen, 30 HP left, in range of Adrenabrain.
Yep.
The strategy finally showing some cracks.
Careful. That Professor Turo is Henry's most important card at this point in time.
He's going to have to use it preemptively. If he lets his deck get too low again, he's out of Iono. Andrew cannot force him to have to play the Turo when the time is right. I think that Henry Chao finally needs to try to establish this 2-prize turn to close out game 1. There is still a precarious line where the error could come through.
Oh my god, we see the pass. Henry has the Professor Turo. If he can find Lily's Clefairy EX, he could pick up one of the Gardevoir EXs, free up energy, and finally take down this Dragapult EX. So instead, we're just going to see another Ichipollen.
So doesn't want to trade, doesn't want to dig too deeply for it because of the amount of cards left in the deck, perhaps. If he draws extra with trade, he puts his the odds and evens a little bit off cadence and could get something trapped. There's no energy for the Zoroark.
Are we going to see something happen? We're going to see... No, yes, Psychic Embrace, maybe. Henry teasing us here a little bit.
The deck is getting low. Henry Chao needs to use the Professor Turos, if anything, just to get the Zoroark EX out of the bench. Because if this is gusted up one more time, Henry Chao might indeed deck out.
All right, seems like we're going to see the Psychic Embrace or not. We're going back and forth with these two energies. We're going to place them onto the Mew, and then we're going to Drain onto the Dracloak, and then we're going to Professor Turo the Monkey Dory, and we're going to send one more damage to... All right, and we're going to copy Phantom Dive, and we're going to take 2 prizes and win the game that way. Okay. All right, the double Adrenabrain play ends up working out finally, and Henry wins game 1 of the finals match.
A masterclass in patience.
Yep.
A stellar performance of sticking to your strategy through thick and thin from turn 1, from frame 1. Get that Budu in play, ride on the back of Ichipollen, try to force your opponent to make a big play. Andrew Hedrick forced to play incredibly defensively the entire game because he was under item lock. Henry Chao was taking knockouts with Ichipollen so that Andrew Hedrick couldn't retaliate using counter catcher and unfair stamp. And so Henry Chao just continued down this line until the win was guaranteed.
We're watching the replay where all we saw was Adrenabrain and Ichipollen for every single turn until the absolute last one. Gardevoir EX can do 190 damage. Who needs that when you can do 10 with Ichipollen every single turn?
And I think the finale of this long game 1 definitely demonstrated that Andrew Hedrick indeed was fearing this exact play. Didn't want to evolve into Dragapult EX, was finally forced to because there was way too much damage in play because Mew EX was on the bench. Andrew would have loved to gust that up, use the Phantom Dive to simply knock it out, but then Henry responds with potentially Night Stretcher, gets it back immediately, powers it up, and retaliates. And after so much time had passed, so many cards had been drawn, the likelihood of that play was 100%.
Now there are 30 minutes left on the clock. Advantage Henry Chao, who will be going first in this second game, which is usually disadvantageous, right? Of course, Hedrick chose to go second, be able to not be under item lock, and have the combination of being able to play supporters and item cards, which is so much stronger than a single turn of item cards on your first turn, and then no more item cards and only supporter cards on your second turn if your opponent manages to go for that Ichipollen, which I am guessing they both will be going for eventually.
And jumping immediately into game number 2, Andrew Hedrick starts off with Dreepy in the active spot. Henry Chao on routes has Buddy Pompin to look through the deck while also figuring out what to grab. Henry has been grabbing Zura and Budu. Zura definitely the pickup here. The prize cards look okay. Secret Box is in the prizes, but based on Andrew Hedrick wanting to go second in this game, probably wouldn't have access to it for most of the game regardless.
The 2 recovery cards at the bottom are like 2 recovery cards being prized is not ideal, but them being at the bottom means they're probably going to be unlocked quite quickly. I would say maybe that Psychic Energy, that 7th Psychic Energy, we've seen how that damage has been meticulously planned by Henry each and every time, combining with Adrenabrain. So not having access to that 7th energy not only means a little bit of a harder time powering up your Pokemon, but it's also 20 less damage that you can eventually transfer over to Hedrick's side of the field. And boosting up that Ichipollen damage, of course, was incredibly crucial in game 1.
And less energy also means less retreat potential for the Zoroark EX. Has to keep track now. Henry has learned his lesson for sure of the rescue boards, of the Professor Turo scenarios. has to play around this Pokemon getting stranded in the active spot. It's a fantastic draw engine and thinning mechanic for the Gardevoir list to make up for the loss of Refinement Curlia to rotation, but we can see the double-edged sword of this potentially getting stranded with a counter catcher.
And we are seeing that the 3 tools being put to the front of the deck. We saw how emotional Henry was in game 1, right after realizing that he did not, in fact, have access to that rescue board and lamenting himself over it. So now he's being extra thorough with his prize checking, which he already was very. Now he's extra thorough, making sure that he knows what he does have access to in terms of the tool cards to not make that mistake again.
Henry finding his perfect setup once more. Enzarua, Badoo, Monkey Dory, and a Routes to start off in the active. So now Itchy Pollen can retaliate with the backup of Adrenabrain, can take a knockout on Andrew Hedrick's Badoo. Now it's back over to him, and we'll see what opening he has in store. An attach of a Fire Energy onto the active Dreepy and Iono.
That always feels bad, giving your opponent a fresh new hand and not being evil. Yeah, 2 Drag Cloaks to the bottom, no extra basics for yourself. I mean, Gardevoir is definitely not known to be super aggressive. Rare Candy Gardevoir EX knockout is probably not in the books, but we don't see too much help for Hedrick here. We see a single Ultra Ball, we see the bodies, so it's finally time to start the Itchy Pollen lock back and forth once again. Probably gonna want to preemptively play that Ultra Ball because it's very unlikely you'll be able to next turn.
And if you Ultra Ball now, do you just preemptively grab a Dracloak, lean on this singular Dreepy?
Yeah, I think you have to, right? There's no more Luminion, there's no more Rotom V, so Dracloak is your absolute best answer to being able to piece something together, but not the best start here for Hedrick. You would love to see a bunch of Dreepies hit the board, you would love to have a follow-up Jack, but at this point, it's all gonna come down to these recon directives. Now, if Henry defaults to the continued use of Itchy Pollen, that just gives you essentially infinite time to find other stuff, right, with that recon directive. So with the passiveness that we have seen so far between both players, especially in game 1, but overall in the matchup in general, it might be fine for Andrew here.
And after thoroughly checking the prizes, evaluating the position, seeing what's prized, it seems that Dracloak will eventually be the pickup off of Ultra Ball, hide behind the Badoo, use Recon Directive to see a couple extra cards every turn, and build up your board state from there. I don't know if Andrew is going to place a bet that Henry Chao will not go aggressive and be okay going with such a passive line. Unfortunately, his desire to go second in this matchup so you can have access to both items and your supporter backfiring a little bit, using Iona to send those Dracloaks to the bottom and having to pivot a little bit from not a, certainly a mediocre setup.
Who would have thought, Adam, that a 30 HP Pokemon getting a little bit of help from those Bravery Charms, like we've seen Bravery Charm get attached to Raging Bolt, so you have a 290 HP basic Pokemon, then it gets attached to Terrapagos EX and the Buffalan support, and you have a 320 HP basic Pokemon, but it doesn't feel like either of those are as menacing as this nice little Badoo.
It goes from 30 HP to 80 HP to infinite HP.
Infinite HP is correct. Yeah, that the support from Monkey Dory is just so invaluable for those Badoos.
And after a thorough deck search, Dracloak finally grabbed with Ultra Ball. We'll be able to retreat the Fire Energy off of Badoo. I don't know if Andrew had the rescue board or not, but getting Henry Chao under item lock will be key. Lowers the chance of him being able to find the Zoroark EX. There is indeed rescue board. Badoo into the active spot, and give it up for Itchy Pollen, #1 of game 2.
All right, we're gonna have an Itchy Pollen counter going, or trying to at least. We're about to see Itchy Pollen #2 combined with Adrenabrain, so 2 Itchy Pollens so far.
Dracloak is evolved on bench, and a Recon Directive to give Andrew Hedrick a little bit of hope now. It's just 1 Badoo and 1 Dracloak against the world. Henry Chao doesn't have too threatening of a board, but Zoroark EX could definitely shift this. There is Jacques to get 2 more evolution cards thinned out of the deck.
Yeah, more thinning, more attempts at accessing other resources, but Hedrick definitely against the ropes here. No basic Pokemon, no further help. I mean, he knows Henry's hand is not good, right? He didn't play a supporter, didn't even evolve into Kirlia, so not a lot going for it, but he's gonna lose the body battle for sure.
And with Jacques, grabs the Dracloak and a Dragapult, getting these out of the deck. Does want to find a Dreepy, hopefully, so you can get more recon directives. Both players had access to plenty of resources, plenty of draw. Simply happened that Henry had much more threat potential in play. The idea of that Mew genome hacking punishment was too much for Andrew to bear, and he retreated into his defensive stance and played towards a long game deck out. Andrew Hedrick now benching Duskull, and even with the Dusclops, with the Dusknoir, was still too afraid to send those damage counters over to Henry Chao's side without the follow-up potential of Dragapult EX to clean those prizes.
Henry does top deck Morty's Conviction, which is not as effective as he would like. It's just a draw 2. Does get a Psychic into a discard, which is great. Adrenabrain will take a knockout on the Bodyu. So one Bodyu does go down at this point in time. We cannot Rare Candy into Gardevoir to take advantage of this Dracloak in the active. But Andrew Hedrick against the ropes. His hand is Dracloak, Dragapult DX, and Dusclops. He needs a huge recon directive here this upcoming turn. And under item lock, he doesn't have a lot of outs here, Adam.
Both players have demonstrated their skill, their poise, and their plot armor throughout the season and throughout this weekend. If anybody can do it, it's Andrew Hedrick. There's the draw for turn and the big recon directive.
Counter Catcher and switch to item cards, which are just not useful at all. I think we could see Andrew use Dusclops to take down the body, see what he can find off the prize cards. And at the very bottom, there is a Buddy Puffin and an Iono. So if he goes left, he could actually save himself. But if he goes right, he will be in a lot of trouble. Can't even play the Rescue Stretcher. So if he leaves himself with single Dragapult DX on board, that's just gonna be really
Andrew,
bad.
Are you the protagonist? You've been offered 2 items from your recon directive while you're under item lock. Now, after taking a knockout with Dusclops, will you get a supporter to refresh your hand and stay in the game, or just do nothing? Once again, throwing our predictions for a loop. Andrew gonna play it patient.
No Dusclops being used. I see Ultra Ball, which could grab Zorg. Rare Candy is the missing piece. Since Secret Box is not available for Henry Chao right now, he can't have that as an out, but he does have Arvin to potentially access. Oh no, wait, he doesn't play Arvin. Never mind. So he has to draw the Rare Candy naturally in order to be able to be aggressive this turn. But at the very least, he can Ultra Ball into a Kirlia.
So with Earthen Vessel discarding a Psychic Energy, thins the deck of 1 Psychic and 1 Darkness, then uses Ultra Ball now, discarding Counter Catcher and another energy card. This will find Zoroark EX, 1 more discard from the hand and 2 more cards to see with its trade ability.
Now, I want to give a fun fact right now. The players that we talked about before that had won 3 regional championships or more in a single season, I think if not all of them, most of them did it with that old Zoroark GX with the trade ability. And we are seeing that trade ability once again factor into the finals. No Rare Candy for Henry. Has another Ultra Ball, which he can use to establish the Kirlia. Can keep Andrew under item lock as well. Now we see double Monkey Dory hit the board. Oh my goodness. Is this the first finals match that Andrew Hedrick will lose?
Andrew Hedrick, the undefeated finals player so far. It is an unstoppable force versus an unstoppable force. But he's pulling ahead, and Iono's picked up from Recon Directive. Still a little bit of hope, a sliver of hope for Andrew Hedrick. This game could still swing on a dime. It's still getting away from him, but with Dusclops to take 1 more prize and hopefully a way to get some Dreepy down.
There is another Dreepy in hand. There is a Dragapult DX in hand as well. So if Andrew actually finds a Psychic Energy off of this Iono and commits to Dragapult DX play, he could put 5 damage counters on the single routes in play and take away any Gardevoir EX option from Henry. So let's not count Andrew out yet.
It was looking shaky, but this is what Dragapult specializes in. Iono for 6 cards and needs to find Psychic Energy. There's also 1 copy of Earthen Vessel.
which
Was
can't
already
be
used?
played.
Can't be
I mean,
used
it's
under
right
item
there,
lock.
but we're under item lock. Three
Very
cards.
true.
There's a psychic, the last card. Oh my goodness! Are
Doubters
we going
in
to see the
shambles.
comeback?
Andrew Hedrick cannot be stopped. Psychic onto the active now. Dragapult EX ready for a Phantom Dive. The first one we've seen so far. Plus a Dusclops. Cursed Blast coming through. Finishing off Ralts. 5 damage counters. 1 prize card to Henry Chao. And Andrew Hedrick going to pull ahead in this one.
This is huge. What a turnaround. Andrew went from basically losing to a rare candy Gardevoir EX to now taking down the Ralts off the board with all 6 damage counters placed on that 20 HP left Ralts, just to make sure that Adrenabrain doesn't do anything next turn.
And because Henry Chao did not have access to Gardevoir EX, the punish play of Lily's Clefairy and Mew EX is no longer available. 2 Monkey Dories are in play and ready to send damage counters over, but there needs to be something else to support these 2 boys.
Now there is a Ralts prize for Henry still living in the prize cards. 1 Ralts went down, so there's only 1 Ralts left in the deck, which that is a miss. There is a failed Nest Ball. Is the Ralts in hand? It has to be, right?
Looking through the deck, very unfortunate. If 1 Ralts is benched, it's just a prime target for Andrew Hedrick once again. You can Phantom Dive, maybe even use Halucha to clean that up. And when you don't have the ability to put 2 Ralts in play, it puts you too much as a liability.
Right. Let's hear it for more Itchy Pollen as we get the Iono. The double Ralts does see play off of the Night Stretcher and the one in hand. So Henry definitely still in this, just taking the slow and steady route.
And 1 more trade to see a couple cards now. Earthen Vessel to discard a Psychic Energy, get 2 more Psychic Energy from the deck. Henry Chao on the back foot, but could try to fight back. Andrew Hedrick relying purely on Dragapult EX in the active spot, and this will reign supreme until Gardevoir EX comes down to start setting up with Psychic Embrace.
Rare Candy, the missing piece once again for Henry Chao. Having amazing recovery after what looked to be a very bad turn. Now we see the Itchy Pollen. Now we're back under item lock. Now we no longer have Dracloak, but we do have a Professor's Research and the Halucha. So the Halucha can put 1 damage counter on each of the Ralts on the bench, and you at least get to take 1 down this turn and put yourself at 2 prizes remaining.
Halucha's Flying Entry, dealing 1 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. And Professor's Research, seeing 7 fresh cards. Slowly but surely, Andrew Hedrick is putting this game in his favor, seemingly forced into this Dragapult EX line, but it was the perfect opportunity when Henry Chao whiffed on Rare Candy.
Does find an energy, no follow-up Dracloak, but does find a wide array of basic Pokemon to help him. It's all going to come down to finding that Rare Candy Gardevoir EX combo for Henry Chao. He has it available in the deck. The question is, can you find it in this exact turn to help yourself in this spot? Ralts goes down. Ultra Ball off the top. Iono played as well. We have a Gardevoir, so if we get the Rare Candy off this trade...
This needs to happen now.
No. No Rare Candy.
Jack and no Arven in the list, folks.
No Arven to search for that. The only direct search that Henry has for a Rare Candy is the priced secret box. So we're not going to be seeing that. We do see Ultra Ball for the Fezandipity, so we're going to try again. Another 3 cards off the top to try to find that very crucial Rare Candy. I mean, then we also need Lily's Clefairy EX, right? Which is not perfect, so we need a 2-card combo, basically. But if we find the Rare Candy, then we have Iono to follow this up.
And even if Henry whiffs here, tries to go for getting the routes back with Night Stretcher, put it down with the 1 damage counter on
there
the routes.
There's the Rare Candy. Oh my goodness, Rare Candy into Gardevoir. Oh my goodness, Adam. Are we about to see another comeback here? We have the Iono. We need the Clefairy to deal with this Dragapult. We cannot do the Mew EX play because we don't have the bench space open for that. So we need a Nest Ball or an Ultra Ball. Get that Clefairy, get the full moon rondo.
My heart can't take it, Pablo. Whenever we think a player is down and out, when they can't get the right card they need to stay in the game, they get what they need. This is a true battle of titans for the Pokemon TCG. And finally, after Iono, 4 cards over to Henry Chao. Still needs the rest of the combo play to take down Dragapult EX.
There's no way to find the Clefairy found. We do find a counter catcher, so we can do some counterplay. Perhaps take down the Duskull to close the door on the last 2 prizes for Andrew, as he cannot take 2 prizes next turn, I'm pretty sure. But this is not ideal for Henry. Missing these 2 prizes, taking down your opponent's only Dragapult EX in play was definitely a game-winning plan, and now that door has shot.
Psychic Embrace deals 20 damage to Monkey-Dory. Retreat, return, another Psychic Embrace, even more of them to power up Gardevoir.
Yep. Now we do have double Adrenabrain, which is really good. We can just knock that out, knock the Duskull out with that, and then deal 190 damage to Dragapult. And then we can use Mew EX again with Adrenabrain to take a 3-prize knockout on any of those bench Pokemon. However, seems like Henry has something different.
I really liked your line of taking down the Duskull, because if there is Rare Candy Dusknoir to strike at this Gardevoir, Henry's last line of offense and last ray of hope will be snuffed out.
It's a calculated risk. Doesn't want to even give Andrew flip the script. Has a Psychic, a Luxurious Cape, and the Dusclops, but that is not enough. Dusclops does open up a knockout on the bench, but the Gardevoir EX's 310 HP is just too much. There's 300 left on the active at this moment.
The healing from Monkey-Dory is so important for the math here.
Exactly, yeah. That healing of the Monkey-Dory is so clutch. And now it comes down once again. Can Henry find all the pieces to take this final win? This final attack with Mew EX copying Andrew's own Phantom Dive would be enough to probably win this game thanks to Adrenabrain.
Whenever we think the match is swung one way, it is still hanging in the balance. It is both players' games. Fortunately, Henry Chao was able to reign supreme in game number 1, and if he can win this second game, he will be the Atlanta Regional Championship champion. Meanwhile, Andrew Hedrick wants to win this game, go into game 3, potentially with a prize advantage, as you predicted, Pablo. So there's still a big hill to overcome.
The Luxurious Cape shuts down the potential immediate win through Mew EX. Now that Dreepy has 170 HP, 110 HP left, so it is no longer in range of Adrenabrain damage, like before taking a knockout or whatnot, or within Phantom Dive range if Henry finds Mew EX. So now Henry needs to find Professor Turo, Mew, and Clefairy, which seems like a very steep ask. But as I say that, he top decks Professor Turo.
And trade for a way to find the remaining pieces, 2 cards.
Kirlia and another Professor Turo. That is not it. So is that Luxurious Cape enough to put Andrew Hedrick beyond this? I don't know. I mean, this Dragapult EX is definitely going down, right? And then Hedrick doesn't have another great way to just deal a lot of damage. So do you Iono your opponent's 1-card hand? If the Gardevoir EX goes down next turn to something, this is so back and forth.
100 damage, 100 HP left on the Gardevoir EX. Can swing to get 2 prizes from Andrew Hedrick.
Iono.
Putting those Professor Turos down to the bottom of the deck as well. Is still looking for some pieces.
There's a Suprod. So, I mean, Mew is the one we wanted, not Clefairy at this point in time. The Dragapult, even if it has Psychic Weakness, it just has so little HP left.
And if you retreat, Gardevoir has 100 HP. There's still a means for Dusknoir to clean up that KO. Gonna have to double Adrenabrain off of it.
All right, so we're gonna see 3 more damage counters onto the Dreepy. Now it has 80 HP left.
Luxurious Cape actually coming in clutch. This is the purpose of this tool card, folks. Being able to protect a Dreepy from getting sniped so that you can begin to evolve it properly into a Dragapult.
Henry is trying to decide what else. I mean, he can take a KO here with Drifloon, actually. He found Super Rod and he found Artisan, so he's eyeing that potential play up. He could also snipe the 3P with Screamtail, but I really like just taking down your opponent to one big attacker. That Dragapult EX has to go down this turn.
Yeah, there's 2 cards in hand. There's no Dracloaks currently. It's going to be Artisan now.
There's the Artisan. Who do we go for? Screamtail. We cannot see more Itchy Pollen, right? Like, we have to be done with Itchy Pollen at this point.
That's what you think. But no, it's going to be Artisan for Screamtail. Agonizing over this decision. You can see so much riding on this game. Every decision matters. Every damage counter placed, every attack meticulously mapped out for the macro of this Gardevoir Dragapult matchup.
We still have this second Adrenabrain left to be used. We see the Clefairy hit the board.
So that's 100 HP on Dragapult EX, is now weak to Psychic. Very easy to take this knockout with something with a bit more HP or just simply a single prizer in the active spot.
Oh my goodness. Henry, now that Dragapult EX has Psychic weakness, Mind Bend can knock out Dragapult EX doing 120 damage, not having a liability in play. Andrew Hedrick needs Rare Candy, Dragapult EX, Psychic Energy, and a Counter Catcher, and a Boss's Orders to win this game. That is a big ask off of an Iono to 2.
Iona to 2, and it's going to be Dracloak or bust off the top to see a little bit more cards. Mind Bend takes down Dragapult EX. Henry Chao on 2 prizes, evening things up with Andrew Hedrick. Has to respond ferociously to this play.
Goodness, Andrew has Unfair Stamp in his hands. The perfect card to respond to the situation. The perfect card to just see as many cards as possible in order to find the winning combination. And Professor's research off the top. What am I seeing now? Hedrick has an impossible decision to make. Do you see 7 guaranteed cards? Do you Unfair Stamp? What do you go for here?
The Dreepy is in the active spot, has 1 energy attached, so can retreat. We're looking at potentially Blood Moon Ursaluna with 1 energy attachment to just put a really beefy Pokemon in the active spot. Andrew Hedrick goes for Artisan first and foremost, going to shuffle the deck, going to evaluate what resources are remaining.
There's exactly 1 Rare Candy in the list. Only 1 available. Oh, I don't see it. Is it in the discard pile, perhaps? I could not see it when Andrew was fanning through the deck. Maybe it is not available to him.
I wonder if it got discarded somewhere along the way, Pablo.
I think it was discarded in that turn where he preemptively Ultra Balled for the Dracloak. I believe he discarded Rare Candy and Counter Catcher back then. Now that I'm thinking about it, so maybe Andrew cannot pull this off this turn and needs another turn where Henry somehow doesn't take 2 prizes with double Adrenabrain available to him.
I don't even think that's a worthwhile consideration, but after Unfair Stamp, anything is possible. Andrew Hedrick is going to see 5 cards from the deck after shuffling in Henry Chao, going down to 2 with the draw for turn and trade. Potentially Pheasantipity as well. Andrew Hedrick's not going to give him access to that extra card draw, I imagine. Both players want to take their remaining 2 prize cards at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, even if Hedrick wanted to take a prize card this turn, I don't think that's even possible. Henry made sure that there were just no easy targets. We see Counter Catcher, we see Dracloak, we see Dragapult, but I generally don't think there is the possibility to go into the Dragapult, and this evolution further confirms it. We cannot get a Dragapult EX this turn now that we have evolved. However, the extra HP for Dracloak now means it's out of range of the Adrenabrain. So this might have locked Henry from taking 2 prizes next turn.
And Arvin will be the play now too. The Unfair Stamp was already played. Yep. Arvin can't search for the Rare Candy that after some investigation was indeed in the discard pile. Maybe looking to pick up a potentially just a Counter Catcher. Instead grabs Nest Ball for Blood Moon Ursaluna. Pops the Dusclops.
Oh my goodness, Blood Moon Ursaluna will do it. Counter catcher gives Henry a prize card, and Blood Moon Ursaluna can now attack for free and will deal enough damage. That was the key piece that he needed. Amazing draw by Hedrick there. That on first stamp, so clutch.
The Lily's Clefairy being benched so that Henry Chao could take a knockout using a single prizer in the active was necessary there, and it left a 2-prize liability in play for Blood Moon Ursaluna. Having the Dusclops sitting, waiting in the wings that whole time to put him down to 1 prize card remaining indeed let the Blood Moon come true.
I have the replay ready for this match. I have to wonder if all those Adrena Brains onto Dreepy might have been better served onto Dusclops, because
there was that turn where he could have taken down the Duskull.
Yeah. So this game 2, it was completely different from game 1, right? We only saw a few Itchy Pollens. I mean, not because either player didn't want to. Andrew was able to take down Henry's single routes in play. Henry covered masterfully, but then failed to find that very key Mew EX in order to overcome the situation and lock the game. And then eventually it left his possibilities. Yeah, he just couldn't find the right combination of cards at the right time. He was always one turn away. The secret box being locked out in the prize cards just didn't give him enough searchability in his deck for the key pieces at the right time.
There's so many possibilities with these matches, Pablo. A player having a certain card at a certain time, a certain pivotal moment, can completely swing the game in their favor. Missing these opportunities and giving their opponent just that small chance to fight their way back into the game is going to be taking advantage of. Andrew Hedrick and Henry Chao both playing their hearts out. So much on the line for this big win to add massive prestige to their Pokemon TCG records. Going into Game 3, Andrew Hedrick kicking things off with Dreepy and also Duskull on the bench. And we Earthen Vessel discarding an Iono to get a couple energy out of the deck. And we can take a look at the prize cards now. Luxurious Cape not going to be available. Only a Jacques in the prize cards along with Dragapult EX. If Henry Chao opts for Badoo, could be hard finding those evolution Pokemon.
Both Darkness Energy prize for Henry, so no Monkey Dory action until a prize has been taken. However, with 30 seconds left on the clock, it's basically going to be whoever takes the first prize card will likely be the winner. And at this point, this is where even going first feels like a disadvantage, honestly, because feels like a big advantage because Andrew, if he just finds a Fire Energy and a Dracloak, he can take down the Ralts or possibly take down a Body or whatever it is that is in front, and that's going to be enough. Now, I mean, generally we could see the Nest Ball get played for Pheasantipity because that has the most amount of HP here, but I mean, unless we see Rare Candy Gardevoir EX, I think this is what Andrew was also playing towards with that very, very, very long first game, right? Dragapult is usually going to be the one that has an easier time being the aggressor just because your stage 1 just does more damage before Henry can get a full setup.
Yeah, Henry went for that very long, itchy, pollen-laden strategy because the rescue board was in the prizes, wanted to make sure there was no possible way for Andrew Hedrick to do the terrifying punish play with counter catcher, unfair stamp, had to maintain that item lock for all of the game, and Andrew perfectly evaluated that strategy and has driven it to this point in game number 3 with the time down.
All right, we are going aggressive. We are going for that full Moon Rondo to start us off. It's also one of the highest HP Pokemon that Henry does have. I mean, Andrew could have Rare Candy Dragapult waiting in the wings, but with only one copy of Rare Candy, that's very, very unlikely. Now we're going to see an Ultra Ball be able to grab. Do you go for the Body? I don't think so, because if you grab Body, then all of a sudden that bite attack from Dreepy looking very, very threatening.
And Henry Chao kind of being forced to play this one a little bit more straight up. Both players have really been in the trenches of extremely weird lines of play for this matchup. When it comes to both players playing such an intricate matchup at the highest level, you have to start flexing into these strategies and ideas that really haven't been explored. And Henry Chao, now with time called in the Masters Finals, needs to try to be aggressive with Gardevoir. This was his signature, right? Secret Box, Rare Candy, Gardevoir, start swinging on your opponent immediately. Andrew Hedrick, also with 1 Rare Candy in his list, will need to see which player gets that aggressive start first. It is Zorua picked up, still valuing his card draw for this position.
Now let's make sure we clarify how the winner will be determined in this situation. Time has been called. Henry is turn 0. We are playing those +3 turns, and then whoever is ahead at the end of those +3 turns will be determined the winner. And if at that point they are still tied in the prize cards, no matter the count, then whoever has the first prize differential will win the game. So for example, if you use Curse Blast and you take a prize card and you give your opponent the prize card, the game still continues. So
the picking those prizes for a Curse Blast happens simultaneously.
Yes, exactly.
For that, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's not like you take the first you take the KO before your Dusknoir gets KO'd. No, you resolve everything and then you check for the prize differential.
Okay.
And therefore, that would not be the way to do it. So it comes down to, can Henry find Rare Candy Gardevoir next turn? Can Andrew be the aggressor? Because Clefairy is good, but it needs 2 energy to attack.
So it's going to be an attach and retreat from the Ralts. Andrew Hedrick has the devastating play.
No
Fire
way!
energy. Arvin!
Take the Rare Candy!
Rare
and he has
Candy
Arvin!
and fire!
What are we seeing? He can go Rare Candy into the Dragapult, the 1 copy in his deck. What is this plot armor?
The forbidden play, the terrifying aspect of Dragapult, where it can come roaring out of the gate. It doesn't want to hide behind Budu, can just go for this early Phantom Dive. Andrew Hedrick tapping into this power for the 11th hour of Masters Finals.
He can go Jock into Dusclops and take a 3-prize turn, but that leaves him with a single Dragapult EX in play. And that means if Henry knocks out that Dragapult EX with Rare Candy Gardevoir EX plus getting back the Clefairy, then he would win because Andrew has no bench. So I think Andrew's definitely evaluating this option. Do I go for the Jack, get both Pokemon? Do I even use the Dusclops? I mean, an extra prize, if it was the only Ralts in play, you absolutely do it.
Yes.
But because there are 2, it's not as beneficial, so I don't think you go for it. And then this is turn 1 of time. Henry will have exactly 1 turn to go Rare Candy, Gardevoir EX, and return KO the Dragapult EX. If he doesn't do that, he will lose the finals match.
And with such an enticing play, both players have shown their patience. I think that has been the mark of the weekend, the mark of this best of 3. Both players willing to play it slowly, wait and see what their opponent has. Henry has been the one consistently, if I'm not mistaken, having to take these bigger risks or call out the fact that the opponent might not have a key card in their hand. But now it will be revealed to Henry that Andrew Hedrick has the Dragapult. It's just a matter of how he wants to navigate this. Going 3 prizes up, opening himself up to an incredibly small percentage play of a game-losing punish, or will he go for something a bit more measured?
That Rare Candy off the top is insane. Henry's not going to be happy when he sees Andrew put the Dragapult and the Dusclops down. He's not going to be happy knowing that there's a Rare Candy. Turn 2, Rare Candy Dragapult EX. You can even see, I'm sure Henry says, like, no way you got it. And Andrew just smiling like, yep, I got it. Yep, there we go. Henry just not happy with what is going on. Hedrick, no emotion whatsoever, just complete calm. Just knows that he has a huge advantage here. Can Henry match this Rare Candy that Andrew just top-decked?
Rare Candy evolves into Dragapult EX.
Goodness.
Fire energy attached for turn. Dusclops evolves on the bench. Curse Blast for 50 HP. This alongside Phantom Dive will result in the 3-prize turn. But will Andrew Hedrick open himself up to that line? It is a tall order.
Wow, he is going for it. Going after the Zorua, denying the draw as much as possible for Henry Chao. Does take a Darkness Energy, which is completely inconsequential here in the prize trade. Now it comes down to Rare Candy, Gardevoir EX, and Night Stretcher.
Let's take a look at the hand, Pablo. Professor's Research, Gardevoir EX is in the hand.
And there's a Morty's Conviction, so I think we're just going to have to see a research for 7 cards and hope for the best. And because the Gardevoir EX is going to get discarded, now we need Rare Candy, the other Gardevoir, an Ultra Ball, and a Night Stretcher. 3-card combo. Is research good enough here?
If you back a player of this caliber with this much plot armor into a corner and you let them draw 7 cards, Pablo, I don't know if I take that bet. Professor's Research, 7 cards, victory or defeat.
1, 2, 3. There's one. There's the Rare
Ultra
Candy.
Ball, Rare Candy.
Oh my
Night
God! There's the Night Stretcher. No way!
He has it all, folks. Pablo, lay it down for them. The Ultra Ball for Gardevoir EX. Rare Candy evolves the Ralts. Night Stretcher to get Lily's Clefairy back for Fairy Zone.
He has double Night Stretcher. 1 Gardevoir EX was discarded. He doesn't even need to Ultra Ball. He has it. Andrew, I think, is explaining to Henry how he has it. There we go. Rare Candy, Gardevoir, Night Stretcher for the Lily's Clefairy EX. Full Moon Rondo. Oh, wait, I guess we need enough basic Pokemon. Oh no, we power up the Gardevoir EX.
Yes,
Gardevoir EX does enough damage to knock out the Dragapult TX now that it is weak to Psychic. And Henry Chao will be the Atlanta regional champion.
Looking through the discard pile, he had the Earthen Vessel as well to make sure that these energies were in the discard pile. And there's the win! Henry Chao, monumental plot armor. 3-time regional champion in 1 season.
This is crazy. Andrew Hedrick's Rare Candy top deck was incredible, unbelievable, and then Henry Chao matches that with a 3-card combo and even an extra card to boot. He got double Night Stretcher, Henry Chao. My goodness.